Welcome to the Essentials of Inorganic Chemistry. The chapter that I am discussing is Postulates of Quantum Mechanics. This is the fourth talk in this series, and today I am going to discuss the third postulate of quantum mechanics. Friends, before I start discussion on the third postulate, I have to answer the questions that I asked you in the previous lecture. The question was based on the second postulate of the quantum mechanics, and I asked you whether some operators are Hermitian or not. As such, the postulate requires them to be Hermitian, but then we need to check and prove it, and therefore I asked you that question and then I thought, let me answer the same. So here we check it. You know, the general equation for an operator to be Hermitian is integral over some limits. In this case, we will take minus infinite to infinite. Then your wave function, the complex conjugate of your wave function, that is psi star, then your operator a cap, and then your wave function psi and dx. If this is found to be equal to the integral, again minus infinite to infinite, this time you have the wave function psi, then your operator, the complex conjugate of the operator a cap, and the complex conjugate of some wave function psi star, that is psi star. If both this left hand side and right hand side are found to be equal, then only we will say that the operator a cap is Hermitian. Before going to the momentum operator, let us take the differential operator. So if we take operator a cap is equal to d by dx, then our first equation transforms like this. Now what you are doing is you are combining a cap and psi, and therefore instead of 3 terms that were visible, now you will be able to see only 2 terms. So the integral becomes psi star d by dx of psi, or you can say d psi by dx is equal to integral psi and then the complex conjugate of d psi by dx, which means the complex conjugate of the operator d by dx as well as the complex conjugate of the function psi dx. Now this integration is little tricky, and therefore we will have to use a typical method called integration by parts. So what happens over here is, on the left hand side of this equation you see that you have function psi star which is multiplied by the derivative of some function, that is d psi by dx, and in such situation you can use a special method called integration by parts. Now I will show you the general formula for performing integration by parts. So instead of psi and d psi, if you have some other functions, say u and v, then for these functions the equation goes like this: integral minus infinite to infinite u dv by dx is equal to u multiplied by v into the limits minus infinite to infinite minus, this time you have du by dx multiplied by v dx. So what we will do is, we will simply remember this equation, this general equation, and then we will find out the counterparts of this general equation in our required equation. So you will see that in our equation, that is this one, u is psi star, and if u is psi star, then you will say that du by dx is equal to d psi star by dx, and then in place of dv by dx you have d psi by dx. dv by dx is equal to d psi by dx, and hence we know that v is equal to psi. Thus we can simply substitute the values of u and v and du by dx as well as dv by dx in this equation, and we will be able to get the integration of the term that we are interested in. So let us see how it works. This becomes integration psi star d psi by dx is equal to psi star psi into the limits minus infinity to infinity minus integration in place of du by dx, what do you have to write? D psi star by dx, and in place of v you have to write psi, d psi star by dx psi dx. Now we have already discussed in the first postulate of the quantum mechanics that a function has to be at least normalizable, and for a function to be normalizable it has to converge to a value to 0 when you move towards infinity, and in that case this term will become 0. So your equation will be reduced to integration psi star d psi by dx is equal to minus integration d psi star by dx psi dx. Now what we did was we performed integration by parts on the left hand side of our equation. This was our equation, this one, and we performed integration by parts on this, and then we evaluated that. If this comes out to be equal to, if the value of this integration comes out to be equal to this, the right hand side, then we will be able to say that your operator is Hermitian. But you will see that when we perform the integration by parts, we get the result as RHS only, but with a negative sign. See, you had psi star d psi by dx, and here you have again d psi star by dx psi, or you can say psi d psi star by dx. You see what's happening is this star is changing the places. You have psi star on the left hand side, you have psi on the right hand side. You have d psi by dx, now you have d psi star by dx. That is the difference between the LHS and the RHS. Now this is having a negative sign, so you cannot say that the left hand side and the right hand side are equal, and therefore you come to understand that your operator d by dx is not a Hermitian operator. There was a particular reason why I chose d by dx for checking whether it is Hermitian or not. The reason was that I wanted to check whether the linear momentum operator is rather a Hermitian operator or not, and we know that the expression for the linear momentum operator in quantum mechanics is minus IH cut multiplied by d by dx. So this d by dx was important, and I thought let me do it separately, and that is why I did it. And here, though we found that d by dx is not a Hermitian operator, but we could also establish one relationship. You can see in the text that I have highlighted in yellow that you have psi star d psi by dx, this integral is equal to minus d psi star by dx into psi. So sometimes we will be able to substitute this. You have this and you want this, you simply change the sign, you will be able to exchange the stars, that is the complex conjugates. So now we go to the linear momentum operator, and in place of a cap, now this time you have minus IH cut d by dx. The general expression was like this, we remember it, psi star a psi dx is equal to psi a cap star psi star dx. So when we put minus IH cut d by dx in place of a cap, the expression will appear like this. Now let us first perform let us first re-express our left hand side. See, the left hand side is integral psi star minus I h cut d psi by dx. In the first step, what I am doing is minus I h cut is a constant. I am putting it outside, it doesn't make any difference. So you can write down as minus I h cut integration minus infinity to infinity psi star d psi by dx, and that is equal to I h cut integration. Now instead of psi star I am writing psi, and instead of psi or rather d psi by dx I am writing d psi star by dx, and from the expression that we derived earlier I can simply change the sign. I got minus and now I made it plus. What I have to do is I have to simply change the sign. Psi star becomes psi, and here psi becomes psi star. You can change the sign and you can maintain the equality. Now I go to the RHS. On RHS, what I am doing? RHS is integral minus infinite to infinite psi minus I h d psi star by dx dx. Now RHS is about the complex conjugate of the operator as well as the, you see here in the general equation you will be able to see that you have star over the operator and star over the function. So in RHS you will have psi minus I h cut d by dx star psi star dx. Now friends, this I has a complex conjugate minus I, and minus I has a complex conjugate I. So when you write, for real numbers the number itself is the complex conjugate, but for the complex numbers you have a complex conjugate. So for minus I the complex conjugate is, that is minus I star is equal to I. So what happens when I bring this minus I h cut outside, it becomes plus I h cut, and then integration you have this d by dx star is same as d by dx. So you have psi d psi star by dx dx, and now you will see that the expression or the simplified expression for the left hand side, which I have highlighted in purple, is same as the simplified expression for the right hand side. Both are equal, and therefore we can say that your momentum operator or the linear momentum operator Px is a Hermitian operator. Let us do one more interesting exercise. This time we will check whether the kinetic energy operator T or T cap rather is Hermitian operator or not. Now we know the expression for the kinetic energy operator. It is minus h cut square 2m, and this is double differential, second order differential, d square by dx square. So in order to check that, again we have to fit this kinetic energy operator into the Hermitian operator expression, this one, the general expression, with a cap in place of any operator. Then what we will do is we will substitute a cap by the expression for the operator, that is minus h cut square upon 2m d square by dx square, and then we will check whether these two, the left hand side and the right hand side, are equal or not. Again when we go to the left hand side, we will realize that we will have to use the integration by parts, because your two terms, the psi star and then your d square psi by dx square, I will explain you why it can be used, but that has to be used. What we will do is we will first recall the general equation for integration by parts, and then we will replace u by psi star. This is the psi star, and therefore what happens, du by dx becomes d psi star by dx, and then in place of dv by dx you have d square psi by dx square. This constant is not to be considered because it is not going to make any difference. So in place of dv by dx you have d square psi by dx square, and therefore v is equal to the first derivative. If dv by dx is equal to second derivative, then v is equal to first derivative, that is the d psi by dx, and thus your this equation takes this form. What we are doing in the first step, we are taking this minus h cut square upon 2m outside, then you have psi star, then you have d psi by dx. See, in place of u, what you have to write? Psi star. So I am writing psi star. In place of dv by dx, what I have to write? In place of dv by dx, what I have to write? D square psi by dx square. But this is u dv by dx. So it will become d psi by dx, which is equal to, then you have the operator. No, this is not the operator, this is the first part, the limit term, minus h cut square upon 2m, and then in place of u you have got psi star, in place of v you have got d psi by dx. This is equal to, or rather this, the expression continues, then you have minus, then you have again the constant term minus h cut square upon 2m, then you have the integration du by dx. Du by dx is d psi star by dx multiplied by v, that is d psi by dx. So this becomes a term, and again we will give the same argument which we gave earlier, that for a function to be normalizable it should converge to 0, and therefore this multiplication term will become 0, and therefore it is not to be considered. And next what happens, you will be left with this term only, the second term of the RHS, and this minus minus will become plus. Now let us see how it takes the shape. Here we go. This will be the shape now, because you are putting this first term of the right hand side is equal to 0. Now what we will do is, here again you have got d psi star by dx, d psi by dx, and you have to perform the integration. Again we will apply the method of integration by parts to this right hand side, and you know the general equation. What we have to do is, you have to find out u is equal to d psi star by dx. Therefore du by dx is equal to d square psi by dx square. Then dv by dx is equal to d psi by dx, and hence v is equal to psi. Thus this equation, this right hand side becomes h cut square upon 2m, I am writing the same thing, integration d psi star by dx, d psi by dx, that is equal to, now you have to put this u into v in the limits, where you have u is equal to d psi star by dx, and then v is equal to psi, and when you have d psi star by dx you have this h cut square upon 2m. As such, this is not going to make any difference, but still for the mathematical correctness we have to write it. And again you will say that for this function to be normalizable, at least psi has to be equal to 0, and this term is going to go away, and again we will get this value minus h cut square upon 2m integration d square psi by dx square psi dx. Now let us see what happens. I am writing the same thing again, just removing the first term of the right hand side. And now you have got that is equal to minus h cut square upon 2m integration d square psi star upon dx square psi dx. Now just let me rearrange this and you will be able to understand that this equation is same as the RHS of the general equation for the Hermitian operator. See, the RHS of the Hermitian operator would look something like this. You have psi, then you have a cap star. In place of a cap, this time you have got h cut minus h cut square upon 2m d square by dx square, and then you have got psi star. So here you can write psi star or not, it doesn't make any difference, because when you go to the kinetic energy operator, you will see that there is no I over here. So this entire operator is a real operator, and therefore the complex conjugate is going to be same as itself. So just for mathematical correctness you may write a star over here, but even if you don't write, it is same. So you have psi, and then you have operator star, and then you have psi star. So that LHS now comes out to be equal to the RHS, and therefore again you will be able to say that the kinetic energy operator is also a Hermitian operator. So with this little exercise, we now move to the third postulate of the quantum mechanics, and the statement: every measurement of an observable using a corresponding operator gives only the eigenvalues A satisfying the equation A cap psi is equal to A psi. So now I will explain you the meaning of this postulate. See, usually an operator has more than one eigenfunctions, that is, it has a set of eigenfunctions, and each of these eigenfunction will give an eigenvalue, and therefore it means that an operator usually has a set of eigenfunctions as well as eigenvalues. So the general eigenvalue relationship, that is A psi is equal to E psi, can now be presented as, for some experiment that we are performing, this can be written as A psi n. You know, you have different eigenfunctions. Operator is A, and it has a set of eigenfunctions, that is, it could be psi 1, psi 2, psi 3, and so on. So A psi n is equal to this eigenvalue A n. For each of this eigenfunction, it will have eigenvalue. So for psi 1, it will have A1, for psi 2, it will have A2, and so on. And then this relationship requires that this psi n is returned, so psi n. So if n is equal to 2, I will say A cap psi 2 is equal to A2 psi 2. That is how it goes. So thus, when we measure an observable, the values that we obtained will be equal to only A1, A2, A3, A4, etc. See, I will give you an example. Say the Schrodinger wave equation, H psi is equal to E psi. This is a standard case of eigenvalue relationship. In this H psi is equal to E psi, you know, the H is the Hamiltonian operator, and if I state this H psi is equal to E psi, that is a mathematical expression in general English, then I will say that when Hamiltonian operator operates on the wave function, you obtain the energy of the wave as the value. So H psi is equal to E psi, H is the operator, psi is the eigenfunction, and E is the eigenvalue. So when you perform an operation using Hamiltonian operator on the wave function, the value that you get is the energy multiplied by the wave function itself. So the real number that you get is the energy. In order to understand this in a better way, let us rather recall the treatment of particle in one-dimensional box. I hope that you remember the general equation for the energy of a particle confined in one-dimensional box. It was given as En is equal to n square h square upon 8 ma square, where n is an integer and a is the width of the box. Now, say we put n is equal to 1, then what you get? The first energy level, that is E1, and that will be equal to, substituting n is equal to 1 in this equation, it will become 1h square upon 8 ma square. Then when I put n is equal to 2, then 2 square is 4, therefore the value of energy will be equal to 4h square upon 8 ma square. See, this h square upon 8 ma square is going to be constant because h itself is a constant, 8 is a constant, mass is constant, and a is the width of the box, it will remain constant. So, say if I consider this h square upon 8 ma square is equal to x, then I will say that the energy can be 1x, then the next higher energy can be 4x, then the next higher energy can be 9x, then the next higher energy can be 16x. So these are the eigenvalues. A particle in such situation cannot have energy is equal to 3x, because 3 is not a square of any integer. Got my point? So that is how this A1, A2, A3, etc. are important, and that is how we justify the statement that every measurement, whichever the level may be, every measurement of an observable, this is our observable, in this case the kinetic energy or the energy is the observable. Every measurement of an observable using the corresponding operator, that is the suitable operator that we use. We had already derived this by giving a treatment in the one-dimensional box, that En is equal to n square h square upon 8 ma square. So you are performing a measurement of energy using a corresponding operator, and what you get is only the eigenvalues. You can get 1h square or 1x square and 4x square, 9x square. You cannot get the intermediate values. That is what the third postulate is trying to tell us. Thus, the measured energy of a particle in a box will be only any one of the above, which finally explains the third postulate of the quantum mechanics. Now, I have a very interesting and very important question for you. What happens if the wave function psi describing the state of that function is not an eigenfunction of A? Friends, this is not a simple question. I will try to give you the answer in the upcoming lecture, but in the meantime, you should think on this. And friends, just applying brain or heart will not help you in understanding the quantum mechanics, because quantum mechanics is the science of spirit. So goodbye till I come back again and discuss with you the fourth postulate of quantum mechanics. Thank you.